What is up, Ravens Flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. James and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Welcome in everyone to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin here with my co-host James Haskell. In this episode, we're going to discuss some of the recent roster moves heading into the final week of the regular season for the Ravens before they start their playoff run. And I think some of these are a bit of a surprise. But before we get into that, take a second, click the subscribe button, click the notification bell. That way we can keep you up to date on all your Ravens news. But Jimbo, let the people know what's going on over at the Castle today.
Yeah, absolutely. And Glenn, just like you said, a bit of a surprise when you look at the names, and we're here to break it down for you, like Glenn mentioned. But the Baltimore Ravens have officially released Deshaun Jackson and Nick Boyle today. Now, when you see those names initially, you think maybe Nick Boyle, you're like, okay, well, he's kind of turned into a special teams guy. But then you think Deshaun Jackson, it's not like we have wide receivers obviously coming out of the woodworks to ball out and making this thing work. But with that being said, understanding why and what the motive was behind it is really why we're here. What's going on is the Ravens are preparing for tomorrow's game, and tomorrow's game is potentially they're potentially going to be a situation. We got it all figured out.
Yes.
Essentially going to be in a situation where they're going to want to play guys that are normally on the practice squad, depending on the outcome of the game. Maybe in the second half, the game's out of hand either way. John decides to play some or put into the rotation some guys that normally wouldn't get playing time. And so they've called up some guys to the practice squad. Now, the reason you can't just send Deshaun down or Nick down is because contractually that's not a possibility. You can't just say, oh, here, go to the practice squad for a week. It just doesn't, it doesn't work that way. So that, as far as I understand, is really why John is prepping for this upcoming game with, being cognizant of the fact that a week later we're going to be in the playoffs and health is number one priority. So, I think it was an interesting move, Glenn, but I think at the end of the day, it makes sense, right? Like, kind of understand why they're doing what they're doing.
I do. I still question whether or not it's simply just accounting. I mean, I think you're right. The corresponding moves is they activate wide receiver Tylan Wallace and cornerback Daryl Worley from IR, who, so there is somebody to move into that spot. Tylan Wallace will take Deshaun Jackson's spot. And then Daryl Worley was playing pretty well before the injury, especially on special teams, getting down there, making some nice coverage tackles. But so naturally it makes you think, well, Deshaun Jackson didn't practice all week. He's been sick, so he's not going to play in the game anyway.
Right.
So really no harm in leave. My only question, so I think Deshaun will be back because he still brings an element to this team with his speed and big playability that nobody else on the team can do. I mean, Sammy Watkins, I guess they're hoping can bring some of that, but let's be honest, Deshaun Watson, even at his age, is still the fastest guy on the outside for the Ravens. Mm-hmm. But Nick Boyle, my question is, why bring him back? I mean, at this point, and it's due to the injury, so it's not like it's fault of his own, but he's not the player he was. He was one of, if not the best blocking tight ends in the league. And at this point, he's barely playing. He's healthy scratched oftentimes. And when he is out there, he's not himself. I mean, you hate to say it, but injuries have definitely changed him as a player. And I don't think we'll ever see the Nick Boyle of old. So my whole thing is, why bring back Nick Boyle?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't know if there's a ton there. Maybe because Greg Roman probably loves him as a tight end because he's such a good blocker. I don't know. But even then,
he's not anymore.
Right, he's not even in there. Right, he's not even given opportunities really to showcase that because Oliver's in on a lot of those plays.
He's better now.
Yeah, Mark has obviously increased his ability to block.
Isaiah Likely's a deep ball. I mean, a vertical threat,
and now with Kohler back, so it's a.
And let's be honest, Ricard can fill a lot of that role as well.
Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't come back for the playoffs for sure. I would be more surprised if Deshaun Jackson doesn't come back. But this is the other question I have, Glenn. Any thoughts, like when you're kind of looking at some of these moves and bringing up some practice squad guys and things like that? Do you think that it's not resignation, right, to this game? It's not like, well, we're prepping for the playoffs?
I don't think so. I certainly don't. I hope it's not when you consider what's on the line. This isn't a game that has no meaning anymore. Suddenly it has quite a bit of meaning if you're the Ravens. And me personally, as a Ravens fan, it has quite a bit of meaning. I'll say this about Deshaun. He brings the element of speed and big play threat, but he also, I think there's a reason he was a free agent. I think when you look at that interception he gave up where the DB just beat him to the ball, didn't have a lot of want to there. So it's like, how much are you really losing? You're losing some of that potentially big play threat. But outside of that, I'm not sure really how much you're losing over. And he wasn't going to play anyway because he was sick. So it's not like, even if he was healthy, I don't think they would have done this, is my point. But even with him being out, I'm not sure how much the Ravens are really losing out other than the threat of a possible big but who's scaring? I don't think defenses are scared whether Deshaun Jackson's out there or not.
Yeah.
A vertical threat is my point.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I agree with you there. He's just at such an advanced age at this point that it's just,
and our passing game is just a mess.
Right, the scheme, all of it, top down.
It doesn't look.
Yeah. But we wanted to talk to you guys about these moves today because initially real head scratchers, but you can kind of see based on the hopeful breakdown that we gave you why the Ravens made these moves. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this game is played out, Glenn. How it looks in the second half, how incentivized, like you said, outwardly it looks like the Ravens and the Bengals are both very incentivized to win this game, but still there'll certainly be some gamesmanship, I'm sure, from both staffs. So give us your thoughts below. Were you surprised by the moves? Do you think that Boyle will be back? Do you think that Jackson will be back? Leave all your comments below, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
See, yesterday does not matter. You're looking forward to today.
I'm looking forward to being a Raven.
What are they getting?
Everything out of me. They're going to get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that.